Okay. Hearing nothing else, all in favor of approving the amended agenda, signify with a thumbs up. Okay, next is approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything in there that somebody would like to make any changes to or talk about? Okay, seeing none, pleasure of the board.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented to the regular agenda for further discussion.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor of approving the consent agenda as laid out, signify with thumbs up. Okay. Next is citizen comments. And Chris, is there anyone with their hand up?
I see no hands, Brian.
Okay. Next item is appointments to position of the fence viewer and Conservation Commission member. And as a follow-up to our nominations made at the Select Board's May 25th meeting, in accordance with 24 VSA Section 127-308, the board is to complete the appointments of Victor Nuovo to the position of fence viewer and Charlotte Tate as a member of the Conservation Commission. Is there anybody who would like to speak to that? And if not, pleasure of the board.
So I'll move to appoint Victor Nuovo to the position of fence viewer.
Second.
All in favor, signify with a thumbs up. Okay,
I also move to appoint Charlotte Tate to the Conservation Commission.
Second.
all in favor, signify with a thumbs up. Okay. We're skipping 6. So we're going to move to an information item to get us into the loop, because we may need to action this at some point. So it's a request by Jeremy and Liz Parker for use of a portion of the town trail, formerly a Class 4 road, for a new driveway access off Washington Street Extension west of Bushy's Corner. Now, there's a lot in our packet on this. There's some other things. There is a possibility that this would need a legal, well, it would definitely need a legal review because there's some questions as to whether they even need access to the Class 4 road. That portion that the town, that's the town's right away. And the Development Review Board is still in fact-finding and discussion stage and has not made a recommendation. Is Kathleen, anything more specific on that?
No, I see Jen is here, Jen Murray, our Director of Planning and Zoning, and Jeremy Parker is here.
Yep. So we should probably just get those two to give us, if I could invite Jeremy Parker in, that'd be great. Yeah. Hi, Jeremy.
Hello.
How about just walking the select board through what your plans are and what you're asking for?
Yeah, so my wife Liz and I purchased this property, the former Bushy Trust property, in December 2019, starting to plan a homestead and small farm. We wish to access Washington Street Extension utilizing our road frontage on Washington Street Extension and bringing a driveway through the forest zone to the pasture where we will be developing cabin, main residence, and barn and outbuildings for the farm core. The road would serve, or our driveway would serve, a couple of purposes. One, it would remove any such traffic from the Painter Hills neighborhood where there's currently an agricultural access through a Class 2 wetland. as well as providing us access to our forest zone area for maintenance under our draft forest plan. And so since we've been at the DRB, we've done a little more digging and research, and originally it was thought that we would need to acquire an easement across a portion of the former primitive roadway, the Class 4 roadway that became a trail, designated a trail in 1999. It has since come to our attention that the tax mapping is not in alignment with the deed or recorded survey. And so we actually own more road frontage than we originally thought, based on that tax mapping. And so now the question, instead of being, do we need an easement from the town of Middlebury to access in our desired location, which achieves the minimum required site distances plus some. It's kind of the only section on that portion of our frontage. We are now seeing if we need some sort of legal instrument to cross the easement, the trail easement effectively, which runs through our property. So we're not effectively looking to access the Class 4 roadway. We don't have a landlocked parcel like John Reynolds used to. We actually own the frontage and are looking to cross the easement with our driveway.
Okay. Any questions of Jeremy as to what they're looking to do? And there was a map of how they plan to set up, where they're planning to put buildings and whatnot in the packet as well. Everybody knows where we're talking about as you go out of town and climb the hill near where Malcolm's live, just past Co-op Fire, and right there on that, at the peak of that hill, I believe is where you're talking about, right, Jeremy?
That is correct, yeah, and we are the parcel just north of the Dutton parcel that I believe the town just purchased.
We were discussing potentially doing that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Heather.
So my question for Jeremy is, have you seen the concern that Chief Shaw has raised regarding the driveway?
The only concerns that I'm aware of thus far were from our site visit where he was present. That was on Monday, the 24th of May. And his concern was just regarding, just what kind of traffic we'd see, and access to and from, not causing undue impact from emergency services on the traveling public. In order to, we can easily meet those requirements with our approach to Washington Street, so that a fire truck or emergency vehicle wouldn't have to cross the yellow line in order to get into our property. And then we can also incorporate any sort of comments that Chief Shaw would have requiring, any sort of pull-offs or anything like that, going to the Farm Corps from the street.
I think he's also talking about the road width and also the load bearing capability, right? 75,000 pounds.
Yeah, so I don't, road width wise, we intend to do a 12-foot minimum driveway. Okay. Because our length is our revised length is a little over 2,000 feet. We've had the chance to revise that based on field visit. And so our intention is we don't want to have a paved road through the forest zone. We want to make sure we have as little impact as possible, but understand that we also need to meet the requirements of emergency access. So
right.
With regards to the width, we can certainly meet the minimum widths required by the land development regulations, as well as any sort of loading that we may need to do above and beyond due to challenging soil conditions, et cetera. There are certainly plenty of construction products that would allow us to achieve permeability and the weight distribution required for emergency vehicles.
Okay.
Heather.
Hi, Jeremy. I just had a couple, in reading the information we were provided, I found a couple of inconsistencies. And so I just wanted to clarify those. And it may just simply be a matter of things changing over time. But in the memo, there was mention that it was a 3-bedroom farmhouse. In the plans, it says 4. So I was just curious if things had changed there.
No, so our plan is for a 3-bedroom main residence.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was mention in the memo about not wanting to use the Painter Hills development for access to avoid farm traffic on that in that access area.
Mhm.
But then when you talked, or excuse me, when the memo talked about access, the new access onto Washington Street, it doesn't say anything about farm traffic. It just says regular vehicular traffic. So I just wondered how the farm traffic was going to access the property if it's not using the new driveway.
Okay, that might have been something amiss. Our sole access would be the driveway to Washington Street Extension.
Okay.
With regards to the traffic, the volumes, the types of vehicles, Painter Hills is it's a high density residential neighborhood where residents are out walking their dogs, walking their grandchildren. It's kind of the same sort of dead end road development that I grew up on, where everybody's kind of out in the street. We don't intend to have a high volume of traffic necessarily, but with regards to farm traffic, we may have to have, we may be getting help from neighboring farmers and getting equipment in and out from time to time. When we get to the point of we're actually able to produce something and bring it to market, we'll have to have, a van coming in on a somewhat regular basis. We're not seeing an excessive amount of traffic, just that those traffic patterns and the types of vehicles aren't in alignment with a high density residential neighborhood that doesn't see regular traffic coming through. It seems much more appropriate that we utilize our frontage on Washington Street to the main Class 2 roadway.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. And then, so it looks like in one of the pictures with the plan, there's a farm field there now. I'm assuming, because I don't see trees on it, that somebody is haying it or doing some other agricultural work on that field. How is that equipment accessing that area now?
So the field has been getting hayed 2 to 3 times yearly for a number of years, from my understanding. And they have accessed through the agricultural access, which again goes through a Class 2 wetland. It's kind of grown in and very wet in there, especially after heavy rainfalls or seasonally spring and fall.
So the haying equipment, the farm equipment for haying those fields is going through that right away through the Painter Hills neighborhood
Historically,
right now.
Historically it has been, yes.
Okay. Those are the questions I had for now. Thank you.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I guess I just add a little bit. I'm hoping you can clarify a little bit. When you say you're going to have a farm, what exactly do you mean by that? Like, what are you thinking to do? It could be a small holding, or it could be, if you're putting things out, it sounds like you plan to put things out to sell. So do you have an idea of exactly what you're going to be doing and what kind of equipment
Yeah, so
we're talking about?
our short-term goals we're intending to move to Middlebury and have this be our prime or our only residence moving forward as we enter the second halves of our lives. We have a desire to have a homestead and a permaculture farm. So we're looking to grow as many different things as we possibly can. We're looking to incorporate some silvopasture as well as forest farming into that. So utilizing, sugaring maple trees, developing more of a sugar stand in a certain area that's old pasture that's been reclaimed by pine, reestablishing that, growing mushrooms, raising, harvesting nuts for various things, whether it's eating oils, growing various fruit trees, apples, pears, peaches, plums, various berries. So, and then incorporating livestock into that, at least at first, to build soil. So we really want to be able to sequester as much carbon as possible. And so that's kind of the big goal here. Above all else is we want to, plant trees, plant things, sequester carbon, build the soil, and do everything we can to just do right by the land. As we progress and as the trees grow, as the fields become more fertile, we'd like to have the ability to bring things to market, whether it be the farmer's market, direct to consumer. I know Acorn, which is located in Middlebury, has some great programs, the pharmacy program, and various programs to get foods to people that aren't able to get great meals, don't have that access. And so that's kind of our goal. We're not planning to do any sort of large scale monoculture crop and just kind of pillage the land. That's not what we want. We realize it's a beautiful piece of property that has some beautiful older growth forest, and we want to work with that to enhance it and to improve it and to provide ecological and environmental value with that kind of network, because that obviously is a portion of the forest network in Middlebury there.
Do you intend to employ anyone
At first, probably
at some
nobody.
point, right?
Yeah, at some point, we definitely see having a farm manager, so one person that would potentially be there full time, which we do show a 1-bedroom apartment in our farm core, and that would be the purpose, is to have somebody there that's able to manage things kind of 24/7, so that we have some time to be able to get away once in a while. Other than that, I would only see anything seasonally when we'd have to, again, this is further down the line as we're, beginning to harvest because things are actually producing.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody?
Brian, just to bring to your attention, we have a hand up from Jean Terwilliger in the audience. I believe she's been working with the Parkers on this project. She's with Vermont Integrated Architecture.
Okay. Can you bring her in, please, Chris?
I will do that.
Hi, Jean.
Aha, hello. Yes, well, the original plan was for me to do the beginning of talking. So I think Jeremy has been doing very well for himself. So I just wanted to make a couple of minor points now that we've gotten this far. And I think the biggest one is the question of where the right-of-way actually occurs and its relationship to why it was not considered an appropriate right-of-way for the Reynolds property 20 years ago, because I know that's something that's really come up at the DRB. And when we look at the maps, the access and the survey from 1999, the right-of-way is shown coming in at a very oblique angle to Washington Street Extension, further to the north than the Bushy Corner approach that we're proposing here. And so I think that, and that was actually mentioned by Fred Dunnington in the records of those meetings. And so I just want to bring that up as, we certainly agree that if that's where the right-of-way actually was considered to be at that point, it would not have been a safe access point. And we're proposing accessing the Washington Street Extension at a much safer location.
Is it staked now, Jean, if we were to drive by to see it at some point?
So there were no pins found for right-of-way, and we are in the process of trying to get that area properly surveyed, but we're not actually, they're going to have to do some digging now that this question has come up. What is staked is the proposed driveway location.
Okay, yeah, that was actually what I was looking for, is
Yep.
where you, I drive that road every day. I live out beyond there, so I'm quite familiar with it. There are some very poor choices for places, but there's also, if it's right at the peak, it may be different. You know, you go just beyond that peak and it's really tough during the winter for anybody to stop if they were to, and the sight lines are pretty bad too, so.
Correct, correct. And that's why we really want to access right on that peak on the crest of the curve, because there are really good sight lines in both directions, both for the person who is looking to enter the roadway and the drivers in both directions.
And it's in the proposal is to come in at a more of a 90-degree angle so that
Exactly.
you're squared up and, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the, so when we talk about accessing it through the Painter Hills development in a class 2 wetlands, that would require some additional permissions to move from a farm road to a driveway, I assume, but educate us on that.
Sure, there would have to be a wetland permit issued to increase the width of that road. Right now, it's considered to be basically a 9-foot driveway, and it would need to be increased to 12-foot plus the width of the utilities, which we're planning on running underground from the end of the Painter Hills development road. And we can run those utilities, if we're not using that, we can run those utilities right in the center of the existing access and not have to increase that. So that it would be a significant impact to the wetland area there.
Is that an Act 250 or is that just an A&R permit or?
It's an A&R permit, yes.
Okay.
Brian, Jen Murray now has her hand up to make a comment.
Okay.
Hi.
Evening, Jen.
Hi. Would it be helpful for me to clarify where the DRB is at in their process and how you mesh with that? Okay. So the DRB has heard this application twice, and they did a sidewalk, and we met with a lot of people on site. Dave Shaw shared concerns. Bill Kernan has some concerns about the location of the access. We didn't have MREMs out there. Tom Hanley had some concerns. The neighbors across the road, Nancy Malcolm, just a lot of other neighbors have spoken up with concerns about Bushy Corners, which is so famous for being dangerous, and how this access might be in a treacherous location. So the DRB ended up deliberating on this a little bit and continuing the hearing, I think to the 14th. But they feel like they want Bill Kernan to go ahead and issue a work in the right of way permit or a curb cut permit for that location so that he can use his expertise to conduct a technical review that incorporates police and fire and all of those people to really look at the plans that Gene and Jeremy have recently put together that give a little more technical detail. And then you're brought into the situation because there's a select board ordinance from 1975 that says that basically, anytime you use a piece of a former class 4 road, the select board needs to give their permission. So I would picture you sort of giving Bill's work your blessing, maybe at a subsequent meeting or something like that. But I'm here if you have any other questions about the process.
Okay. So you're looking to meet again on the 14th?
Mm-hmm. If they're ready by then, which they probably won't be, we can always continue it as long as we need to for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The DRB will evaluate the driveway itself with their own technical review, and they're evaluating the use. We talked a lot about the use, but the DRB will be evaluating that. Really, the select board's going to help us out by evaluating that access point and where it meets with a class 4 road and if that's an appropriate location.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I would suggest everybody familiarize themselves with that area. This is not an action item for tonight. It's more of a, let's get our, there is a chance that we'll have to make a decision on it, and rather than be behind the 8 ball, to educate ourselves and know what's going on. And so that if it comes back to us for a decision on utilization of that right of way on the former class 4 road, that we're not having to spin up and delaying the process further. So with that, is there, there are comments that will continue to be shared, I'm sure, by residents in there, and we'll get them into the packets so that everybody has access to reading people's thoughts and concerns. I guess with that, is there anything else, Jeremy or Jean or Jen, that you'd like us to know? I guess Heather just had her hand up. Heather?
I just wondered, just had a thought, is anyone using that as a trail now? Does the TAM run through there? Are there people walking or biking or anything through there now on that trail?
Jeremy?
So my understanding is the TAM actually kind of technically ends a little bit further to the south and then cuts through, I believe, a neighborhood a little bit further over, where it then crosses Washington Street and then moves up towards Chipman Hill. There is a trail that right of way continues, and then there's a single track that kind of pops out of the right of way. And then I believe along the edge of the Malcolm's field, and then it comes out to the corner at Bushy Hill, which, now that I'm understanding the property lines, I believe is actually on our property. And so there is an access point there, but it's not considered the TAM. We would of course be, more than willing to, maintain access, improve access, do something there that helps get people in, that maybe isn't off on private property, but is actually closer to the right of way, as well as potentially continuing something to the north, just to help pedestrian access along that corner in that dangerous section of road.
Jean?
I guess I have 2 questions. The first is, since this is no longer a class 4 road, does the class 4 road regulations apply here? I think that's it for now. That's my main point,
Okay.
that one.
We're soliciting legal review of this to tell us what authorities and what the requirements are on this. So it's a good question, Jean, and something that we're having to get some review on before we commit either way, just so that we're accurate.
I would say with regard to that, speaking as staff who often needs to get the DRB to kind of look over what she's done for a permit, I imagine that whether there's like a legal opinion that this applies or not, the select board, Bill's still going to want the select board to give this his blessing in some way. So you're probably still looking at the same process, no matter whether you call it, the policy or not. So
Yeah.
So this is just good form, Jean, I think.
Yeah, and which is why we're before we have a legal review, why we're in the process of getting everybody spun up. So good points. Okay, so with that, I think we all have a good primer and chance to do a little fact finding on your own and prepare for to hear what comes out of the DRB and actually Bill's review of that road cut. So thank you very
Thank you
much.
for your time.
Look forward to welcoming you to the community, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to being there.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Um, Next on the agenda is discussion on charging the infrastructure committee with continuing the work of Creek Road Task Force and dissolving the Creek Road Task Force. This comes up because we've been following the recommendation of the Creek Road Task Force, and the task force basically had made a recommendation, and now in our next steps, it's pretty much on a lot of the staff responsibility. And we have an infrastructure committee who does all of the type of work that's required of the next steps. And on that, it's chaired by the same person who was chairing the Creek Road Task Force. And she has agreed to take on that duty to continue to shepherd that through. We've, at the same time, Dean Reham resigned from the Creek Road Task Force for personal reasons. And so we asked Dean George his opinion, and Dean thought it made sense as well. So with that, I'll open it up for any comments or discussion. Heather.
I would just also add that to what Brian said, in that the other member was Luther Tenney, and he's a current member of the infrastructure committee as well. So two of the Creek Road Task Force are also on, are on the, myself and Luther are on the infrastructure committee. So there is some continuity there.
Lindsay, did you have any comment?
I did, but it was that I couldn't remember who the other member was. So Heather answered it for me.
Okay. Then I'm not hearing anybody who's against it. So if you're okay with it, then I would solicit a motion to make that happen. Farhad? Hold on.
Yeah,
Farhad, did you have a comment? Question?
I was going to say thank you, Heather, and the rest of the team. You guys had a very, very busy season for all the reasons, with the river playing its role and the farm owners and all those things. And you had a very robust group, worked so hard on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Farhad.
Yeah, well said, Farhad.
You ready for a motion?
I am, Heather.
I'll move to dissolve the Creek Road Task Force and move responsibility for future planning for the road to the Infrastructure Committee.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify with a thumbs up. Okay. Chris, can you bring Dan? Is Dan out in the audience?
He is on his way.
Okay, thanks.
Brian, there is another hand up in the audience as well,
Is there? Okay.
from Jack Northrup.
Okay, so after this, we'll get with Jack. Evening, Dan.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, so this will be hopefully short and sweet. We had a sidewalk bid package put together, sent out to bid. We have 3 bidders who responded out of 4 that took packages. And I'm bringing this to you tonight instead of going to the infrastructure committee, because the low bidder on this project is Champlain Construction. They are also the contractor who is going to start the Main Street sidewalks here within a week or so. And so as a conversation after the bid opening, they had asked if there's any way we could move up, the process to ensure that their subcontractor who would be doing the flat work would be able to stay with them as a unit. So once they complete the Main Street sidewalks. And actually, as some of that's going on, they can move to some of these other sites and get those going. The concern was that if they split and separate, and as busy as the construction season is, there could be a heck of a delay getting this part of our sidewalk program going. So that's why I bring it to you tonight. As I said, the low bidder was Champlain Construction. Their bid came in at $61,870. The second bid was Munson at $74,800, and the third was Belden Company at $99,300. I don't know, Kathleen, if you can put those drawings up. If you can, fine. If not, I just want to mention one site that's kind of important here. Over on Seymour Street, by Methodist Lane, where it comes into Seymour Street.
Dan, I'm going to interrupt you. Kathleen, I've got it. Do you want me to share it?
Yeah, do you need to be a co-host?
Oh, am I not already?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Okay,
Kathleen,
what-
I can set her up to do it as a panelist.
Okay.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Dan.
No worries.
Go ahead, Heather. You're good.
Okay, thanks. Hang on, I gotta switch. There we go. Hold on. Can you see that? Oh, I'm not on the first one. There. This is what you were looking for, right, Dan?
No, let's go to Seymour Street. I think it's the last one.
Okay.
Yeah. The other ones that she's flipping by are the other ones that are part of this bid. Yeah, this is where Methodist Lane comes out into Seymour Street. I think it was 2 summers ago, Jen did a little pop-up project with a crosswalk that would go from you can see where it says cutout or curb cut for crosswalk approach on the west side or left side of the page. Would cross the street and go over to the east side where that little grass strip is and the little red line where it says sidewalk to crosswalk. We're going to put a new crosswalk in there, so we have to do the curb cuts to manage the sidewalk slope that's required for handicap accessibility. And they're going to put a small section of curb around there to basically change the vehicle approach coming down Methodist Lane as to Seymour Street. Basically want to square it up, and the stop bar will move and be parallel with a crosswalk and so on and so forth. So there's plenty of room to do that, and it'll really make Methodist Lane look more like a proper approach to Seymour Street, along with putting a crosswalk across Seymour Street. So as I said, that was a little project that Jen had initiated, and people really liked it, and so we're going to do it. So I'm requesting the board to approve Champlain's bid for $61,870, and they'll probably be starting this either end of the month or early in July. So that's my request.
Heather.
Before I take this down, Dan, you're gonna know what I'm gonna say on this, because I didn't get the opportunity to say it in infrastructure. On the 94 Court Street, are you really doing 3 little sections right there?
Yeah, I am. I know what you wanted. Your thoughts are is to do them all. We could certainly do that. There's funds to do that. The main goal here was to are the sidewalk dips for the driveway. The sidewalk snowplow has a hard time managing those slopes, and they leave a lot of snow behind. It's hard on a tractor. The one in the middle is a trip edge, and again, the north one is the same factor.
So the sections that are in between your marks there, I would just be curious, because I think it would be cost effective to get those done at the same time if they haven't been done recently, and they could be, if they could use being done. Just trying to just be conscientious about, it probably costs more to stop and start on those 3 little sections than to do that whole section in one piece, is all I'm saying. And I know I've said this before, and I'm sorry to disagree with you, but I just want to use our funds to the best of our ability.
Yep. if you want and the board agrees, I can work with them on a cost to do all of it. And I guess the only the only thing would be approval process. Maybe that's discussion with Kathleen and I or whatever, but I can certainly reach out to them for that.
Would you like me to
The one-
stop? Sorry, Dan. Would you like me to stop
No, that's
sharing
fine.
or would you like me to leave the pictures up?
Just one last sentence on that is, the middle one is one panel that's been kicked up by a tree root in the middle, and that's why it's there. So you can move to the other ones if you like.
Oh,
That one's a driveway, across a driveway. It's all smashed up from cars driving it over the years. And that one is also, most of it's across a driveway and busted up. So these are mostly trip hazards. The top one that you're going to get to is right across from Charles Avenue by the high school. And it's not so much of an issue now, but it has been for years because of the rutting of the wheel tracks in Route 7. The water splashes on the green belt and then, runs down the sidewalk and across the yard and towards the house. Mr. Vaucher, I think, still owns the property. He has it up for sale. And I believe he's come to the board once or twice and to talk to Kathleen about the water issue. What we're going to do here is repitch the sidewalk towards the street. That's typically what we do. We're going to pick up the grade on the approach from the crosswalk. The highway department has already last year regraded part of the green belt and put in a couple of yard drains, so the water will not go over the sidewalk towards that house. And then we're going to pick the sidewalk grade up right at that T with a crosswalk, probably about 6 inches, so the water doesn't overrun the sidewalk. So we're going to do this last year. COVID got in the way and we only had one bid and it was pretty outrageous. So I pushed it off to this year.
Can I stop sharing or keep it up?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think you can stop, Heather. Hey, Dan, does Les Fauché know that you guys are doing it this year as part of that project? Has he been informed what's going on?
Yeah, I talked to him, maybe a couple months ago and told him that we were going to do it. And then I was down there probably about 10 days ago and he happened to be out in his front yard. And that's when I saw the for sale sign up. And he's tickled pink. Of course, I think some of that is because he has the house up for sale, but it's certainly going to help, even the curb appeal of his place there. So he's happy.
Yeah. I think he was planning on selling it anyways, Dan, but I think he couldn't sell it with the water in the basement. So based on what I understood from his contacting us a couple times.
Yes, he's done some work on the foundation in the front and the porch. He's put a fair amount of work into it. And so this is all going to help make things work better. So
perfect. Okay. Any questions of Dan? Seeing none, pleasure of the board.
So would the board be okay with making an amendment to consider doing that one section on Court Street, right? What does the rest of the board think about that?
Does it need doing? Does it have cracks in it or where?
It's not bad. It's not bad. And I'm always kind of a little conservative on, how much to tear out that's good. But I understand Heather's concerns.
well, should we ask for a price for it and see how what it looks like for that section?
Yeah, I would, I would suggest we vote it as is and ask Dan to go back and get those numbers Because I imagine as long as the main part is pushed on there, you know, if it's an additional little bit, we can tack that on later. Is
Yeah,
that okay with you, Heather?
Yeah, I just think, you know, from having done sidewalk work and it's most cost effective to start and go a length. When you have to start and stop, it costs more time and money to do that than if you just replace the whole thing. And I don't know what the age of the pieces in between are, but if they're anywhere, as long as they haven't been done recently, my vote would be, unless it was hugely expensive, which I can't imagine it would be to replace that whole section at time and just get the whole section done. So you aren't having to come back in 3 or 4 years and do those little pieces in between.
Why don't we approve this and ask Dan to get us basically a change order price to change it from the 3 pieces to 1 strip and bring that back to us if it seems like a reasonable price, so that we can consider that. But this would at least allow them to commit to being able to go forward for the timing.
And I would expect that by the time your next next board meeting comes along, they probably wouldn't be to that point. We can just say, do the other ones first and hit timing right. So I can do that.
Okay. I'll move to award a contract to Champlain Construction Company for the 2021 sidewalk replacement project at a total cost of $61,870.
Second.
All in favor, signify with a thumbs up. Okay, so Dan, we'll make sure that we'll plan on that for the next agenda.
Yep.
Sound good?
Hey, Dan, how's the schedule on the Court Street paving and the water line work? Everything's done, or?
Water line work, they're going to be shortly. They did some back T samples. I think those have come back good, or we'll find out tomorrow for certain. And then they have a short section to do from Court Square to about the middle of in front of the Painter House. There's that short section there that's not quite done yet.
Yeah.
So they have to do that, and then and then connect the service lines in. So there'll be a couple things going on at the same time, reconnecting service lines in for about 75% of it, and then doing that short section over to Court Square. Paving, I believe they did some of the aprons of the side streets last night, I should say. And I think if the weather's good tonight, they plan on paving, the north part of 7 and the part of Court Street. So I would think by the end of the week, the majority of Court Street would be done, except for where our water main project is.
Okay, because people have been asking, there's not much activity going on for the past week. So people are wondering if it's stalled for some reason.
The water main is waiting for them to do pressure tests and bacteriological samples, and that takes several days. So
Okay.
They can't do anything until that comes back.
All right. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Dan.
Welcome.
Okay. Chris, before we go on to the next agenda item, I think there was somebody with their hand up in the audience.
Yes, we have a hand up from Jack Northrup.
Okay.
Jack, you can go ahead and unmute, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jack. This is
Great.
Brian.
Hey, I logged on at 7, but by the time I got on, it was 7:06, so I missed the first part. So thank you for taking my call. I got like a 3-minute gripe. My gripe, I think I copied all of you. I've been in contact with Chief Hanley a couple times. It's about traffic speed, and I realize I'm one of many. And so I'm not pointing fingers. Chief Hanley basically pled poverty. I don't have enough money to enforce speeding. I live 2 houses down from the 4-way stop. It's insane. And, at 5 to 7, 5 to 6, 5 to 5, 3:30, and I don't know how many of you live in town. So I have two businesses. I have an Airbnb at my place, and I do consulting. It's all out of town. I go out of state, but I work from my computer at home. I've lived here since 2016. And I know that you guys get 1% on the Airbnb that was used for the cross street. And then it got diverted to, I think, the police to buy the cruiser. I don't know. I'm not blaming the police. I'm not blaming you. But if you don't live in town, it's ticked up dramatically since COVID. And it's mostly during the day, it's women, single women, or women with kids. And in the morning, it's commuters either beating Route 7 or doing something else. And so I don't know. Chief Hanley says you can't put road bumps in because it's a main thoroughfare. And I get that. And he says, I just remember my grandkids live in Weybridge. I go down Weybridge Street. The flashing light before Tilly got killed worked very effectively. It cures 95% of the traffic. I know Chief Hanley said you got one of them, but somehow I know like an $11,000 flashing sign is probably cheaper than a cop. And so again, I know you guys are overworked and underpaid, and so it's not like I hate the neighborhood and I'm going to do this or that. But just please accept. I've talked to all my neighbors. Everyone's got the gripe. I've talked to Luther's father, for God's sakes, on North Street. He's complaining about the mufflers. I've talked to every neighbor within my contiguous community, and those contiguous people, they all are moaning. And I'm sure it gets worse as you get close to the co-op. And I'm sure it's worse on Weybridge Street. I'm sure it's worse on Court Street. I'm sure it's worse everywhere. But there are effective solutions. So I don't know. I know money's tight, but man, you got COVID money. You got money. Raise my taxes, but put a flashing sign either way on Seminary Street Extension. So thank you. I'm sorry. I see Brian smiling. And again, I'm not blaming anyone. Listen, man. After the pump station fiasco, this is small ball. Okay. And so again, it would just be nice. And it's most, a lot of it's out of state. A lot of these guys from New York who are driving in their crappy pickup truck that with a muffler gun at 5 to 5 in the morning, I'm up and they're going out to Happy Valley. I don't know what they're doing out there, but and again, I've talked to Chief Hanley, and believe me, his knee jerk is poverty. Okay. And I can appreciate that given all the problems that I'm not even aware of. Anyway, thank you for your couple of minutes, and just take it under advisement. And see if it can factor into the complex stuff that you guys are dealing with. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see.
Hi, Brian. I just heard permission to raise the tax rate.
I filed that away in my memory bank.
But we were all
It's
smiling.
recorded.
We've never heard that before. I don't think we've ever heard that.
We
before.
have it on record.
I do think we're seeing an increase in speeding complaints, and there's correlation there, and that is something for us to talk about as we move forward. So the next item was item 10, discuss the agenda for the June 23rd Select Board retreat. So originally I had thought that we would, and I know I had mentioned it to the board, that we would undertake a review of all of the activities focused on the downtown. Since that time, we've been hit up by a lot of different people who, frankly, I think some of it is that it's opportunistic, that there's the idea that there's a lot of money coming to the town and everybody wants a piece of the pie. So Kathleen has developed a list of all of the projects that so far have been thrown on as possible projects. And we have, for those who haven't gone through it before, because we've been working off the list that we developed from our last time going through this process, but we have a process of prioritization for our projects, other than emergency projects that pop up. And so I felt that really we ought to take a step back. This next one, I think we need to spend the time, the 2 hours that we allot, to, I don't know if you can see, but this is all fine print. There's plenty of ideas of what we should do with money in the town. And certainly we can raise taxes and get them all done probably. But being frugal like we are, but at the same time trying to move the town forward, I think for starters, we should go back to that funnel and we should all get them out. We have a different makeup of the board than what we did last time. We have a different, we've gotten a lot of projects done. We're just coming out of the pandemic, and we do know we're going to have some amount of windfall funds come into the town. It's questionable whether we're going to get the county share or not. That's all being developed in DC, and we'll figure it out. But before we know that, I think we can prepare ourselves, and by doing that, I think in this next offsite, we'll get the list. Kathleen will get it to us ahead of time, and I would ask everybody to read and ask questions if you don't know what the projects are, but try to get ready so that we can talk about and try to get them in some sort of a ranked order. Then we'll apply, the next part of that funnel is resources and stuff. We probably won't get to that point. I can guarantee you we won't get to that point. There's so many projects to talk about, and how do we prioritize them and everything. So I think that's what we should do. If you guys are good with that, then Kathleen and I will prepare for it. But I think we need to get all of these projects in some sort of a rank order, so that as we then start to look at what are their resources to get these things done, then we can start working as to the higher priority without having it be convoluted by excess resources that we're not used to, and all of a sudden we might pick a project that really isn't in our long-term and best interest. So Farhad?
Yeah, I have a question and a wild suggestion right now. How are we bound by having a meeting on June 23rd for this retreat? Or the reason I'm asking this is pretty soon we'll be going in person. Would it be more beneficial if we do an in-person retreat sometime in July?
June 23rd, Farhad, June 23rd is an in-person retreat at the town offices, if you remember where those are. We haven't been there in so long.
Oh, I thought this was Zoom. Okay. So
No. June 23rd was, we talked about at the last board meeting that that was our first in-person, will be our retreat.
But our first select board in person will be second meeting of July, right?
Will be the meeting following that. Whenever the first meeting in July, we should start meeting. I had queried everybody, and for June 23rd, everybody is clear to meet.
In person, yeah. Okay, got it.
Heather?
So our next select board meeting is the 22nd, and then our retreat is the 23rd. And I was planning that we were going to have in person on the 22nd. Is that not, we're going to start in person on the 23rd?
The 22nd was like the day somebody was clear. We can meet in person on the 22nd if everybody's clear. Let me get back to you on that. I got to look at who it was. Kathleen.
We're going to have to do some training on the on the equipment, on the cameras and the microphones and stuff. So let's hold off on that till the meeting in person with cameras on till July 13th. So we can get all the bugs worked out and do some trials in-house.
Okay.
Yeah, because when we're meeting in person on a board meeting, it's going to be a mixed, because the remainder of the people will come in via Zoom, and so we do need to kind of work out some kinks on a hybrid level meeting. which we haven't done yet.
Okay.
Because the retreat is just the board, and I think it'll be an opportunity for us to get together and work as a group for the first time. Lindsay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I support this plan. My biggest question that I feel like I have, having only been on the board for the 3 years so far is always, what kind of funding is available? What are we likely to be able, what kind of grants are we likely to get? Like, that's the piece that I don't know. So I like the idea of setting priorities and then focusing on that. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and the funding is going to develop over a period of time. So, okay. I guess if everybody's okay, then we'll plan on, if anybody needs a strip map to find our meeting room, I'm
Yeah,
happy.
directions, please.
I
I had one more quick thing. Can we get the tiny fine point list? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can send it out. It's a brainstormed draft
Yeah.
by all of the staff, and I'll send it out. I can send it out anytime now, along with the funnel.
Okay.
Great. Thank
And there
you.
were some additional pieces that Brian asked me to add, but those can follow.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you could please resend the funnel, that nice picture because it's been a little while since I looked at that. Thank you.
Okay. Lindsay, check.
All righty. By the authority of the Select Board granted on April 28th, 2020, I have reviewed and approved total expenditures of $947,947.97, consisting of $801,358.61 for accounts payable and $146,589.36 for payroll for the period of May 26th through June 8th, 2021. And I move the board's approval of payment of these expenditures.
Second.
All in favor, signify with a thumbs up. Okay.
And just as Jackie thought that might be the last sewer debt payment, debt service, or second to last or something. So that was
Sure.
hefty, and it should be done soon.
Just in time to redo it, right?
Yeah.
It's all right. We got at least a few months break. Okay, board member concerns. Lindsay?
Oh, I just wanted to share, I meant to send out an email, but I didn't, that a citizen came and asked to be anonymous, but said that she remembers when the Rogers Road was not connected to the rest of Buttolph, and came to a select board meeting and said, if we continue this, then there will be big drama and traffic. So she just wanted to let everyone know that that has been a concern for some time. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Esther?
Ooh, I definitely appreciate the funnel. Thank you, Kathleen, for sending that out, and the info sheet. I really appreciate the order that we're going in, being new and having no idea. I'm like, oh, there's money. I don't know what to do. How do I prioritize? So that was really, really helpful. So thank you.
Heather?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Farhad?
I have no concerns, but I wanted to extend my congratulations to Middlebury graduates. They had a beautiful ceremony last week. And this coming weekend, Middlebury High School graduates. My son is graduating from high school in person. So we are very excited. I'm kind of stressed because he's going to UMass Boston. And
Yay!
Yeah, it's not your money, it's my money.
That's why I said yay.
He's going to study law. So, but I wanted to say congrats grads, and all the graduates that are, even all the 8th graders going into the 9th and elementary going into the middle school. Congratulations to everybody. I'm looking forward to this in person, and I'm going to look for that directions to the town office from Kathleen.
Okay. I have just a couple things. There was a little note in Addy Indy, I think it was the op-ed from Angelo, I think is where I read it, but it was just a thank you to the college students. And I think that group of young adults really did do a phenomenal job over the last year, and certainly those who graduated. It was nice that we were able to, as a community, have them back in the community so that they could have some semblance of in-person classes and education. And I think they did a phenomenal job, and there was a lot of fear before they came back, and I think it was unfounded. And I just want to thank the group of young adults for everything they did. Also, the American Legion should be recognized for actually, I'm just going to read this from Mark Cook. Says
Hey,
my colleague.
Brian,
Yes.
just to let you know, I think you're rubbing your paper over your mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we weren't going to be able to hear you.
A note of gratitude from Mark Cook to the Middlebury American Legion. My colleagues and I at your local health department office wish to express our gratitude to the members of the American Legion Post 27 in Middlebury for their help in the effort to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Since January, the Middlebury American Legion has given the health department and Porter Medical Center full access to their hall for our COVID-19 vaccination clinics. The Middlebury American Legion members have been generous hosts, and we especially thank Adjutant Tom Scanlon and Post Commander Laura Flint for their ongoing support and assistance. And really, the Legion does so much for our community, and for them to make that available, it was a great facility, and our community is a very high vaccination rate, and through the assistance of these great agencies. And last is a note of sadness that the Middlebury Fire Department announced the passing of Captain Retired Ronald Bugger Warner. And Ronald joined the East Middlebury Fire Department initially in January 1983 and proudly served the communities of East Middlebury and Middlebury for a total of 32 years. Ronald was bestowed retired captain honors in April 2021. Very active in the fire department, and he will be missed as a legend of the fire department. So with those community announcements, I guess it's 8:09 and
Right on time.
already done. So we'll meet one more time before the offsite. But as you get that list, if you have questions, please reach out to Kathleen or myself, and we'll try to get you so that you can be thinking about how you prioritize them. Come up with a way. Kathleen's thinking maybe we could have an Excel spreadsheet where we can move them, but I think we're going to have to come up with some way to rank order them. So maybe if she sends it out to you and out to us in Excel spreadsheet format, you can start trying to rank order them to prepare, because there's a lot of them.
Can I make a suggestion?
Shoot.
Is it possible to import it into like Google Sheets or something? Because I don't have Excel. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Good to know. Good to know.
So just make sure that, Kathleen, you put all of the infrastructure projects at the top and everything else prioritized down below.
I have to.
Heather has already spent the money, like it's gone.
These projects are all on top of things we have to do. That $20 million worth of water projects in the next 20 years. This is addition to that. So keep that in mind as well.
And Heather, your point about the infrastructure, that's when I knew we needed to go back and just make sure we all have the same, that we know where our priorities are, so.
I think everybody knows where my priorities are, so.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, thumbs up. Okay, so at 8:11, we're adjourning.
See you guys.
Good
have a
night.
great night, everyone.
Have a
Yep.
good night.